I think that is interesting one, which is that the AI will completely replace human. And I think that is definitely the myth. Like when people heard that I work in AI field, they ask me, do you think that my job is going to be replaced by AI or something like that? Definitely AI is powerful, but I believe that human creativity, critical thinking, and judgment are still essential.
Hi, I'm Emma Zareen, your host and a 16-year-old engineering student, policy enthusiast, and hopeful future STEM school survivor. Welcome to She Persists. Before we dive in, I just want to take a second to say how grateful I am for each of you. Every listen and every bit of support genuinely means the world to me. When I started She Persists, it started as a little dream to share real stories of young girls in STEM who are challenging norms, finding their place, and inspiring change. Seeing that idea come to life has been so rewarding, and honestly, it's just the beginning. If you've been enjoying these conversations, I'd love for you to be a part of our community by following this podcast. It's one of the best ways to help us grow, share even more incredible stories, and connect with a wider audience. And I hope the conversation doesn't end here. I hope you carry these stories with you and let them be a constant reminder that your voice truly makes a difference. In today's episode, I'm joined by Dr. Fardina Alam, the Program Director for Data Science at the University of Maryland, College Park. After beginning her career as a lecturer in Bangladesh, Dr. Alam moved to the United States to pursue her Ph.D. and went on to conduct research at the intersection of machine learning and computational biology. We talk about how she adapted when AlphaFold suddenly transformed the research problem she had spent years studying, what it was like to begin again in a new country and academic system, and how mentorship shaped her journey as a woman in STEM. Dr. Alam also shares her perspective on responsible AI use, the importance of asking for help, and why curiosity and persistence matter far more than having a perfectly straightforward path. So with that, let's get into it. Here is Dr. Fardina Alam. Dr. Alam, welcome to the She Persists podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today and hear about your incredible journey in STEM so far.
Hi, Emma. Yeah, thank you for inviting me today. I'm also excited to be here.
Yeah, so I just want to get started by saying you started as a lecturer in Bangladesh and now you're the program director for data science at UMD, which is incredible. The first young woman to be the program director there, which is an incredible accomplishment. So congratulations with that. Yeah, but we'll jump right in. So you started as a lecturer in Bangladesh before coming to the U.S. for grad school. What pushed you to make that jump into higher education and starting your Ph.D.?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So my teaching journey actually started right after I completed my bachelor's in computer science and engineering from MIST, which means Military Institute of Science and Technology in Dhaka, Bangladesh. And after that, I joined a private university as a lecturer, which is known as IUBAT, International University of Business, Agricultural and Technology, as a lecturer, as you mentioned. And at the same time, I was also pursuing my master's degree at BUET, which is, I think, a renowned university. People know about it. So definitely being a faculty member in Bangladesh was really what inspired me to pursue a PhD, because while I was teaching the undergrad courses, I realized that, although my undergrad education has given me a very strong foundation in computer science and engineering, but there was still so much to learn. Like, I enjoyed teaching students, but I also find myself asking deeper question about why things work the way they do. So I really wanted to go, simply beyond teaching existing knowledge and I really wanted to contribute to creating new knowledge through research. I decided that as I love, interact with students, and I also wanted to explore deeper question, both as a, researcher and educator. So pursuing definitely the graduate studies in the United States I thought that would give me a great opportunity, right? So definitely it was a very challenging time, because it was one of my, biggest decision, because I leave my home country, my family, also my teaching position, move to a new country, start my new family here, and also, start as a PhD student at George Mason University. But absolutely, I feel that it was worth it.
Yeah, and you've come such a long way since then, and now you're a faculty member at UMD. So you still got back into that teaching position as well. So that's awesome. Especially in something like research, there's just always so much to learn. And it's really great that you were able to contribute to that as well.
Yeah, it feels like you were doing like a circle back in
Yeah,
our
yeah. Yeah, it's like a very full circle moment for you.
yes.
But how did you first actually initially get interested in CS and research as well?
I mean, definitely there was a moment I wasn't sure when I questioned myself, but I think when I first came to here, definitely the academic system here kind of helped me to figure it out, like if I should continue doing my research or not. Because honestly speaking, if I think about 10 years back in Bangladesh, we didn't have that much opportunity of doing research there. But when I come here, I found that everything is very new here. For example, like new academic system, research environment, more facilities, right? More facilities. And that kind of when I spend more time here, I keep going, because of my curiosity. And I found that, I'm actually enjoying doing the research, like, solving problem and learning new things. And at the same time, I also realized that definitely I didn't know everything. But if I stay curious, keep working hard and continue learning, it will help me. So yes, I would say that joining as a PhD student at Mason was definitely one of the key moments when I realized that yes, I enjoy research in computer science.
Yeah, that's incredible. And now you're getting to work as a faculty member to spread that knowledge that you have gained over the last several years to new students as well so that they can also get engaged in research. So that's amazing. But some of your first research was protein structure and bioinformatics. So can you explain protein structure representation learning to someone who's never heard of it before?
Okay, okay. That's a good one because most of the time I discuss this question with, my colleagues. Maybe they already know something, but yeah, someone that never heard of, right? But before I start, I just wanted to give some background how I started. So I actually started my computational biology research at Dr. Amartya Shehu's lab, my research PhD supervisor. So there I used to work in the intersections of computational biology and machine learning. And as you mentioned, one of my research is actually on protein structure representation learning. So let me see if I can explain it so easily. So basically, I would like to think of protein as like tiny machines in our bodies. So like they do almost everything, like helping digest food, carry oxygen, fight diseases, and much more, right? So now a protein job depends a lot in its three-dimensional shape. Sometimes we call it like a tertiary shape. Like just like the function of a key depends on its shape, right? And if the shape changes, the protein may not work properly. So protein structure representation learning is basically teaching computer to understand these 3D protein shapes automatically. Okay, so instead of manually telling the computer what features to look for, we let AI learn pattern directly from thousands or even millions of protein structure. I think I can give a simple example. Think about something like facial recognition, right? We don't explicitly tell the computer, look at the eyes, look at the nose and mouth. Instead, after seeing many faces, it kind of learned like which patterns are important for recognizing people. So, yeah, I think once the computer can learn the pattern, it can help the scientists to do many things such as, predicting protein function, understand different human disease, even designing new protein. So I think if I have to give like a one-line summary, I would say that protein structure representation learning is about teaching AI to read and understand the language of protein shapes.
Yeah, and I think that was a really good description. And obviously, it's incredibly important work to making AI be able to kind of automate a lot of these tasks for scientists and researchers to kind of use this information that, these new machines are able to conduct themselves and actually use it to make these new discoveries and make these new findings, because that's really the human part of research. So I think that's a really important field that you were working in, and that's really cool to learn. So what initially got you into computational biology specifically instead of a more quote quote unquote traditional ML track?
I can tell you that, interestingly, I didn't start out in computational biology. As I mentioned, my background was purely in computer science. And even when I started grad school, I was mainly interested was in HCI, which is human computer interaction, and machine learning too. But what actually attracted me to computational biology was the opportunity to, you can apply the AI and machine learning to solve like real world problem, right? And that can have like a direct impact on human health and medicine. So when I joined Dr. Amartya Shehu's lab, so Dr. Shehu kind of first who introduced me with this, fascinating world of protein and structural biology. And I was afraid definitely because it was something quite different for me, as because of my it's different from my computer science background, and I found it very challenging problem. But at the same time, I really love this interdisciplinary nature of the field, because if you think about that, it allowed me to combine my knowledge and computer science background, right, with biology and work on problems that are both like scientifically interesting and socially meaningful. So yeah, it was not really actually a choice between machine learning or computer science and traditional computational biology, but I just feel like it's an application area where I could use my machine learning and computer science background to make a meaningful impact. So that's actually kind of really drew me to the field.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting because, as we're progressing, we're seeing more machine learning and AI kind of like becoming parts of many other fields that have been separate from it before. So having that kind of interdisciplinary connection between machine learning and computational biology is really kind of like pushing the edges of the new science that we're able to see happening to help automate a lot of these practices for researchers. So I think that's awesome. But so you've done a lot of research. What is an anecdote or one moment in your research where something totally unexpected may have happened, whether it be good or bad or just something you didn't expect?
It happened a lot when we were doing a research. It happened a lot, but I can tell you that there was like one of a very unexpected moment in my research during my PhD. So early on, during my PhD, I was actually working on problems related to what we call protein structure prediction. Okay. And that time, what happened around that time, a very, an AlphaFold, I don't know if you have an AlphaFold. It was a very revolutionary model. It was introduced by a Google DeepMind team. So they kind of like changed the landscape of the protein structure research, and they kind of solved that problem. So think about something like that. The protein structure prediction problem was supposed to be a long-standing problem, but however, suddenly because of their research and because of this AlphaFold model, it's suddenly like it's solved. There is nothing you can do. I already completed a couple of years that time, and I was like, what I can do? I cannot compete with them, right? I cannot compete with them a problem solution they have already solved. So that was definitely a moment that was unexpected, but at the same time, instead of seeing it as a setback, I decided that maybe I should shift my focus. Instead of the prediction, I should shift my focus, and later I decided that I wanted to work more on like protein structure representation learning as well as some protein structure generation. So where I was trying to understand and create a new protein structure rather than just predict them. So definitely that was kind of like an unexpected moment, but I also wanted to add something. Because of that, that kind of turned out to be one of the best things that happened to my research, because some of the work from that direction was published in one of a journal named Biomolecule, and couple of my paper later selected as the title story and editor choice article, which was a huge honor that time. And I also received, I think, the Outstanding Dissertation Award from Computer Science Department. So yeah, so I just feel that it was a major disruption, but actually it's opened up a new research direction and opportunity for me.
Yeah, well, first off, I just want to say congratulations. Those are incredible honors to earn, and that's, you put so much work into that research. So that's really awesome that you were able to kind of like see that outcome from that. But yeah, I think that's such a big thing about research, especially now in like this kind of up and coming age of AI and like all of these new technologies where there are so many researchers around the world who are working on, solving the same problems and kind of having this more clear path using AI because of all the knowledge and all the computational power that we're able to have now. So that really does help in the research process. So you being able to kind of shift your mindset and just kind of turn this what felt like a negative at the time into a positive is a really good attribute, especially in the field of research. So that's great. Yeah. But I want to talk a little bit more about your experience as being a woman in, this kind of male-dominated field of computer science and STEM broadly as well. So you've been really involved in organizations like Breakthrough Tech AI and just mentoring other women in technology. So was there a specific experience that you faced that kind of, made this important to you, made mentoring young girls important to you, like spreading your knowledge to the next generation?
Yes, I mean, definitely. Throughout my academic journey, I have been very fortunate to have members who kind of guided me and encouraged me all the time. And definitely their support has played a huge role in my growth. And it's kind of make me realize that how important mentorship can be to shape someone's career. So as I progress from being, a PhD student to become a researcher and faculty member at University of Maryland College Perth. So over the year, I definitely has the opportunity and still I'm doing mentoring of both undergrad and grad research students. I really enjoy helping them, navigate their research and preparing them from grad school and career. And even I can tell you that even in my regular classes, mentoring is something I deeply care about. Like I always try to create environment where, students can feel comfortable asking question and, seeking help. And this is why, and at the same time, as you know, that I'm still involved with a Breakthrough Tech AI program, which is led by Cornell Tech. And this program is, because of that, very meaningful to me because this program is not just about teaching technical skill, but it is also about like building confidence, creating community and opening door for students, definitely for especially for women and other groups that are, traditionally underrepresented. Because of this Breakthrough Tech AI program, I'm now able to teach and mentor students from not from Cornell or UMD only. Like the students are actually from different schools all over the USA and also from different background. And definitely I have seen that how the mentorship and support can change their students career, and I'm really excited as I'm still contributing as an instructor and mentor.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I feel like I definitely agree with what you said. Mentorship is one of the most important things, especially in STEM fields when there's so much to learn from people who've already like been through a lot of the same experiences as you. And the fact that you're able to give that back to the next generation of people in STEM is also really incredible. But what's something that you wish someone had told you a bit earlier on in your career about, navigating academia as a woman or as an underrepresented group?
I think that's actually a very important question. I mean, I think one thing I wish someone had told me earlier is that it's okay to ask for help and you don't have to do everything on your own, because I can tell you that early in my career I often felt that I had to prove myself all the time and I was working twice as hard to show that I belong. But over time I realized that we should seek like advice, build support network, try to find some mentor, collaborator, and that is definitely not a sign of weakness. They are essential for success in if in career or personal life too, right? So that's why I would definitely say that.
Yeah, I think that's a really great message. Asking for help can definitely be scary, especially if you're surrounded by people who you think might be more experienced than you or might have been in the field longer than you have, especially with, you saying that computational biology was something that was very new to you and kind of outside of your comfort zone. So feeling like, walking into a room and everyone kind of knows what's going on and you're kind of having to work twice as hard, like you said, to feel like you're at the same pace as them. So I think asking for help can be scary, but it's so essential, especially in a field like research where everyone really does need to learn and like grow from each other. So yeah, I think that's a really great message. Do you think that there are any barriers for young women in CS or data science today that are different from ones that you faced, or do you feel like it's pretty similar?
I think some things have definitely improved. I mean, today there are many more mentorship programs, scholarship communities designed to, support women in, computer science and data science. And as I said, programs like Breakthrough Tech are some great examples, right? But at the same time, I think some of the core challenges are still similar. For example, when I was in Bangladesh, there were not many role models in STEM who look like me. So at that time, honestly, girls were often like encouraged to pursue fields like medical, rather than engineering, because which was still largely seen as like male dominated field. So in fact, I had to kind of advocate for myself. Like I wanted to pursue engineering instead of going for medical field. And I actually become the first female engineer and first women in my family, like having a doctorate. But I was very fortunate that, I have a very strong support system. Like both my mother and father encouraged me to pursue my goal. And when I came here to pursue my PhD, I was married and my husband also supported me a lot. And now I can see that now my younger sister, I can see that how my parent has been more supportive to her when it's come to her education and career choice. For example, I came to pursue my PhD degree after I got married, but for her, before she got married, I have seen that how my parents become more supportive. So yes, definitely, I think that students now still have more opportunities and a visible role model, but still, I think that mentorship, encouragement, and strong support systems are still just as important as ever.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. I think we definitely have made, steps in the right direction to making it a much more equal environment for men and women, but there's definitely still a long way to go. So hopefully we can still continue down that same path and introduce more women into these STEM fields. So yeah, that's definitely a great point. So I want to talk a little bit more about your teaching and mentorship experience. So you went from, being a student in Bangladesh to a faculty, to a PhD student here in America, to being a TA and now a professor, to now running the entire program for data science at UMD. So what has changed the most about, how you kind of look at teaching or your approach to your teaching style over the years?
Yeah, I think the biggest change is that I no longer see teaching as simply like delivering content. Like early when I was a PhD student and later I become TA, teaching assistant at Mason, my focus was that I just wanted to make sure the student can understand the material. But when I gain more experience as a faculty member, now as you know, I'm a program director, now I actually realize that teaching is much more than that. Like every student come from different background, right? They have different goals. They face like different challenges. And my role is not only to teach them the technical concept, but also to like mentor, guide, and help them to build their confidence. So I can think that I think I have become more empathic over time and having experienced like different stages of, academia. Now I understand that students often face challenges outside the, classroom as well. So I try my best to make sure to support them as different way as I can, and I try to think about more about the bigger picture. For example, as a program director for data science master's program, I'm not only thinking about a single course, but about how we can prepare students for successful career and lifelong learning, because this is data science is a very rapidly changing field, right? Especially with the rise of AI and data science. So definitely I would say that my perspectives has definitely shifted from that simply teaching content to help student grow academically, professionally, and personally.
Yeah, I think that's really great, especially what you said about, kind of creating and fostering that environment for students where they feel like they can grow in the long term outside of just learning the content. I feel like that's so important, especially data science is definitely not an easy field. So having, that challenging coursework, that challenging field that they're pursuing and kind of being able to have that comfortable environment where they're able to, ask their professor for help and, not be afraid to ask questions, not be afraid to look for other resources. So yeah, I think that's a really great point you made. So what's a piece of advice that you often give to your students or you oftentimes see yourself, giving a lot to people who might be asking for help?
I mean, there is one piece of advice that I give student and also to myself too, actually, which is focus on one thing at a time. I just feel like students often feel very overwhelmed by coursework, research, internship, career planning, but I always tell them to break the large problem into smaller, manageable steps and tackle them one step at a time. And I also remind them that it's okay to take a break sometime. I mean, when you are stuck on a problem, you are feeling, very overwhelmed. Definitely, if you just step away for a while, it can actually help you to come back with a, very fresh perspective. So definitely big goals can be sometimes very, intimidating, but if you focus on making like steady progress and take care of yourself, so you will be surprised to see by how much, you can actually accomplish.
Yeah, I think that's a really great message. And I think that's something we all need to hear, over the course of our life. That's definitely not like one time advice, especially as, you finish one goal and you have another, and then everything can feel intimidating all over again. So, kind of like having that be in the back of your mind to always break down big problems into smaller ones is definitely super important. So, for a girl who might be in high school or even younger than that, there's really no too early to start in STEM. But for a younger girl who's interested in STEM, who doesn't have research experience or kind of wants to know how to get into the field, what would you suggest as, a first step in that direction?
Okay, so the good news is that you do not need actually research experience to get started in STEM, right? So my advice would be first explore what excites you most. I mean, STEM is a very broad field, right? So try different things like take classes, watch online videos. Like nowadays, so many online courses are there, right? And also so many YouTube videos are there. Maybe join a school club, participate in hackathon, coding activities, or even you can work on a small project. So what I'm trying to say is that I really think that students should look for opportunities also outside the classroom, right? For example, there are some school who have summer program, workshop, mentorship program. So if they wanted to start, definitely that could be some realistic first step by joining them. But I think most importantly, don't wait until you feel ready because I think that curiosity is much more important than experience at that stage. So everyone starts somewhere and taking that first step is actually often the hardest.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with what you said, kind of just like take all the opportunities available for you, available to you and kind of just explore and see what's interesting. So, yeah, that's definitely a great piece of advice. So, I want to talk a little bit about your experience, coming to the United States and shifting away from that kind of cultural experience. So, what was the hardest part of adjusting to grad school here in the United States after already being, a faculty member and lecturer back home in Bangladesh?
I think the hardest part was starting over because back in Bangladesh, I was already a lecturer and felt confident in my role. But when I came to United States, I suddenly become a student again in a completely new academic system and a much more research focused environment. So that means a challenge was that how do I adjust my research to itself. I mean, definitely the research was way too challenging compared to the coursework because in coursework, there is usually a right answer, but research is much more open ended, right? So, learning how to deal with uncertainty and setback was definitely challenging at first. And I should also mention that I had also just started my married life that time when I came to the US. although my husband was already living in US, for a long time, but everything was new to me, right? So I have to adjust to a new country, meet new people, make friends, and build a new support system while balancing my coursework, research, family responsibilities. So definitely, if I looking back, those experiences were challenging, but definitely they helped me to grow both personally and professionally.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, and you've definitely made the most out of your experience. You've done so much incredible work and are still doing so much incredible work, so that's really awesome. You're also a faculty advisor for the Bangladeshi Grad Student Association. What kind of inspired you to join that group and, stay connected with that group?
So when I joined UMD, I was warmly welcomed by Nabanno, which is a Bangladeshi Graduate Student Association at UMD College Park. And I think I should say that in at UMD there is, if I know correctly, currently there are like two Bangladeshi faculty members are here, where one of including me. So that means a lot when they actually welcome me. And after one semester, I become the faculty advisor for Nabanno, and I actually still serve that role today. Honestly, they are a very organized and dedicated group, and they do a great job organizing cultural event like International Mother Language Day and support the Bangladeshi grad student community at UMD. And to be honest, I do not have to do too much because, the student leaders are already very proactive and responsible. But I try my best to provide and support them whenever needed and make sure that they all feel welcome and supported, because even with a busy schedule, staying involved is important to me, because communities like Nabanno can create a sense of belonging, right? And I wanted to give back to students in the same way others has supported me.
Yeah, and I think that's so great that you're kind of able to, of course, stay connected with your Bangladeshi community at UMD and kind of be that support system for them, as well as a lot of them, I'm sure, are coming from abroad and, helping them adjust to their PhD experience here too. So that's really great that you're able to be a part of that community. So I want to talk a little bit more about your being a professor at UMD. So what's something about being a professor that you didn't necessarily expect, or you didn't see coming into the position as from your PhD?
Okay, so one thing nobody, warn you about is that being a professor is definitely not a 9 to 5 job. Sometimes I joke that it feels like more like a 24-hour customer service position because, the student can email you at any time. There are always some assignment to grade, lecture, exam question to prepare, meeting to attend, conference, and lots of recommendation to write. So yeah, definitely, on top of that, student can come anytime for advice for career, grad school, or, in general for life. But honestly, I also think that that's one of the most rewarding part of the job, because you are not just teaching a subject, you are mentoring, helping students grow, and definitely seeing students succeed and achieve their goal makes all those late night emails worth it.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that before from other people as well. That being a teacher, being a professor, is definitely not a 9 to 5.
No, it's not. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, but so you're so many different things. You're the program director, you're a faculty member, editor, mentor, researcher. So how do you divide your time across all of these fields while being so busy with so many different aspects of your career?
I mean, honestly, every week looks like a little bit of different. And some weeks are like more focused on teaching and student, but while others weeks are more focused on research, program administration, or service activities like reviewing paper. But I try to stay organized by setting priorities and focus on like one thing at a time. So I usually block time on my calendar for teaching, meeting, research, and mentoring. Of course, unexpected email and, urgent issues can always come up, right? But one thing I have learned is that I cannot do everything at once. So I try to focus like what is most important at that moment. And, I make sure that I set aside some time for research and family as well. So definitely it's a balancing act, and I'm still learning every day.
Yeah, and I think time management is something we all, learn to develop across the course of our life. It's definitely not just like a one and done thing. But yeah, I think that's time blocking is definitely a really great method that, a lot of people use. So yeah, that's great. So has there ever been, a point in time, I'm sure there has across your career where you've felt, overwhelmed with all of these things you're tackling at once, or, you felt burned out, and how did you kind of get through that, kind of like see the light?
Yeah, I think it happened a lot, right? It happened a lot when you feel overwhelmed, you feel burned out. But what helped me was learning that definitely I cannot do everything at once, right? So over time, I have to learn how to prioritize sometimes and accept that it is okay to say no sometimes. And I also realized that how important it is to take some breaks. Sometimes that means simply doing nothing, or other time it means maybe do some cooking, watching TV series, spending time with family, friends, or do travel. So yeah, taking a step back even for a short time help sometimes come back with energy and clearer mind. I can say that.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. So for this next section, it's just rapid fire. So don't overthink it, just give me the first answer that comes to your mind. But so for the first one, what's your favorite programming language and why?
Definitely Python. Definitely, it's a very versatile, beginner friendly. I use it for almost for everything. So definitely, I would say Python.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you on that one. What's the most useless class that you took or taught that ended up being surprisingly useful?
I mean, I would go for like probability and statistic. When I was an undergrad, I didn't fully appreciate probability and statistic, but now I see that someone working in machine learning, data science, I have to use those concepts almost every day.
Yeah, I think statistics is a very overlooked class sometimes. I think it has so many applications in almost every single field, whether that be, engineering, data science, even medicine. So, yeah, I think that's definitely a good answer. What is one myth about AI or machine learning that you wish, people just wouldn't think anymore?
I think that is interesting one, which is that the AI will completely replace human. And I think that is definitely the myth. Like when people heard that I work in AI field, they ask me, do you think that my job is going to be replaced by a AI or something like that? Definitely AI is powerful, but I believe that human creativity, critical thinking, and judgment are still essential.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that. I think, more so than AI, taking over humans' jobs, I think it's going to become much more heavily integrated than we're seeing right now. But I do agree with you. I don't think it's going to be kind of, like a an AI takeover and humans are just done forever. But
I
yeah.
can say that for my job,
Yeah.
if they can replace it, they are welcome.
Yeah. It would make grading and stuff a lot easier.
Yeah.
Grading assignments and everything. Yeah. What's your favorite research project that you've done?
I would say my first PhD project or protein structure representation learning, because that was my first deep learning project, and it was also the first project in our lab where we develop a deep learning model to learn representation of protein structure. So definitely I would say that.
Okay, so these next couple of questions that I have are, a little bit more reflective, like looking back on all your experience, and kind of giving advice to the next generation. But for the first one, what does a career in AI or machine learning or data science look like for someone who's starting out today compared to when you started?
Okay, so definitely when I started, AI and machine learning were growing, but they were not as accessible as they are today, because now there are many online resources, open sources AI tool, and opportunities to learn. And I can tell you that sometimes I joke that like ChatGPT was released just after a month I defended my PhD dissertation. So I like to say that, like, I have a completely halal PhD degree with no help from ChatGPT or any AI tool. But
That's really
serious,
funny.
yeah, but seriously, I think students nowadays have, incredible tool available to help them learn. And but the key is to use this tool, make sure that you are, using them responsibly, while you are continuing to build your strong fundamental knowledge because the field is changing so quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with what you said. I think AI right now, it's definitely a tool to be utilized, but just like you said, in a responsible way. I feel like the reason that people often, fear that AI is going to take over human jobs is because sometimes we're too reliant on AI in a sense that we're not increasing our knowledge at the rate that we should in comparison to how fast AI is improving, right? Just because, being overly dependent on AI creates
Mm.
this problem
Yeah.
of like this kind of like power imbalance between, these robots and this artificial intelligence and then just basic human knowledge and like the things that we're able to conceptualize. But then, on the other hand, we have this amazing, incredible tool that makes, like what you were saying, computational biology makes some of these processes automated and helps people in the medical field, helps researchers just kind of improve the technologies that they have to change people's lives. So I think it really is, that kind of balance between when we should use it versus when we should
Yes.
kind of be relying more on our human intuition. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I actually think that this is really important that how can we make sure the responsible uses of AI? You don't want it to use it because, you don't want to be over dependent on it
Right.
so that you don't learn anything. You can use it as a support tool,
Right.
something like AI tutor, that is fine. But you need to understand when you are opening like there's opportunities of using AI tools. Sometimes people doesn't realize that over dependent that create a problem for them in future because they will not learn anything.
Exactly,
So,
yeah. And
so
and I
yeah,
think I think that brings about like it kind of boils down to that, idea of ethical AI use is like,
yes, yes,
when should we be using AI versus when is it kind of deteriorating our ability to actually learn and our ability to actually, with when humans aren't able to use their own knowledge at all, it becomes, this idea of is AI even going to continue to improve in a way that's helpful to humans or is it just going to become more and more of like this weapon kind of. Yeah, so I think that's definitely something that's kind of at the forefront of I feel like science and tech policy right now and kind of figuring out like, these ethical uses of AI, like, is AI really as much of a positive as it is a negative? But I think it really is just about that balance and being able to like find that fine line of when to use it and not to use it for sure. So when someone listens to this and hears your story and your experiences, what do you hope that they take away from it?
I hope they realize that like there is no single path to success. I mean, everyone's journey is different and it is okay if your path is not always straightforward. I mean, definitely I believe that curiosity, persistence, and believing in yourself can take you much further than you might imagine.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. And oftentimes I've heard a piece of advice that I really like, which is, that kind of drive to actually learn stuff and that curiosity and persistence you were talking about will often take you further than the technical skills. It's those soft skills that kind of help you grow in a field. So I think that's a great piece of advice. What's one thing you wish that younger girls knew about machine learning, AI, engineering, STEM broadly before they decide that, it might not be a field for them if they're kind of hesitant?
That's a very important question. I think I wish they knew that STEM, engineering, or machine learning, these are like much more broader and more creative than many people think. I mean, you do not have to fit a certain stereotype to belong in engineering or STEM field. If you enjoy solving problem, building, think, or simply asking why and how, then engineering STEM might be for you.
Yeah, that's a really great piece of advice, especially what you said about, they're very broad fields and one path, like you were saying earlier, one path, it's not a one path fits all kind of situation where like, oh, you don't like cars, that means you're not into engineering. It's kind of like there are so many different avenues that you can explore and so many different ways that you can connect other interests to STEM fields too. So I think that was a really great point. And for my very last question, if you had to give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
I'm still younger. Come on.
No, no, yes, you are, you are.
Okay. So, yeah, okay. So I would tell my younger self not to be afraid of failure and not to compare myself with others because everyone moves at their own pace and setbacks are a normal part of learning and growth. Yeah, that is something I would remind myself.
Yeah, I think that's something that's so important for all of us to remember is that, comparison is the thief of joy as the quote goes. So I think that's a really good piece of advice too. But thank you so much for joining me today. This conversation has been amazing. You're so accomplished, and you're obviously going to accomplish so much more. You're still so young, and the fact that you've already done so much is really incredible. But you were saying earlier that, one of the hard things about growing up in the STEM field is that you didn't really always have a role model, like a woman role model, but you can now be that role model for other younger girls, and I'm sure so many people are going to be inspired by your story. So I'm really excited to be able to share it.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you so much for joining
Yeah.
me.
No, thank you. Thank you for inviting me today. I really love the conversation. I wish you good luck, the She Persists podcast, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for joining me. Once again, I'm your host, Emma Zareen, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the She Persists podcast.